So if you've clicked on this video to watch, I'm going to guess something bad just happened to you. Either you've gotten fired or you've gotten laid off, or you suspect that decision is imminent and that's about to happen to you. So first of all, do not panic. Panic informs such bad decisions and such bad choices. Don't panic. Take a deep breath. And second of all, do not sign anything. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes, but please don't sign anything right out of the gate. And then definitely don't do the following two things. Don't go radio silent. Don't just ignore it and hope it'll all go away, because no good will come from that. And by all means, in my humble opinion, do not do this.
We've decided to part ways with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Sure.
So I started August 25th.
We've heard the story of Brittany Peach from Georgia, at least that's where I think she still lives, who recorded herself getting fired from a company called CloudShare. It happened about a year and a half ago, whatever. I'm not going to break down the whole video, although I do have some thoughts. But first things first, my humble opinion, don't get on social media and rant and rave and vent your frustrations. It may make you feel good in the moment, but trust me, you will live to regret it. And in my humble opinion, that's not the way to go. Now, I've been in HR about 27 years, and I've unfortunately navigated these conversations and the downstream process of offboarding somebody all too many times, more times than I care to remember. But I've seen this go well and I've seen it go really bad. And I'm here to kind of talk to you about what you can do in the first 24 hours, what you can do in the first week, and then how to move past all of that and start to rebuild, your career, get that next job, put yourself in the right frame of mind to actually go out and make the time between your separation from one company and the time you onboard to a new company is as small as possible. So step one, first of all, if you're in the moment or you think it's coming and you get this random email on one day from your boss and your HR person is on copy, don't panic. Take a deep breath, go into it. It'll be awkward and very uncomfortable, I promise you. Get through it and try not to react. Try not to react with, emotion. Just kind of calmly take it in. And I know that's super hard, but I've seen people actually get fired out of these meetings because they have behaved aggressively, angry. They've actually become violent. So if you know that these are triggers for you and you can do anything just to push that down, hear what the people have to say, which will be wildly scripted, get through the conversation and then exit with as much dignity as possible. The emotions are going to hit right following this meeting. You're going to be hit with fear, shame, perhaps even some relief, especially if you've known this has been coming, or even that rage, right? That rage. And that is all normal. And I would say it's what you do with it that is an important part. Feel everything you need to feel. Pop open a bottle of wine. Don't get stuck there, though. Please do not get stuck there. But just don't also react publicly. Just stay away from social media. If you do need a social media outlet, go on Reddit. You've got an anonymous profile with some random, screen name, and vent as much as you want there. That's probably the safest space publicly to go. But don't go on any of the big platforms and start venting, because I don't think that will do you any favors down the road. Okay, I said this before. You're in the meeting, and maybe if you're fortunate, they are putting a severance agreement in front of you. That's a good thing that they are offering you some parting gifts, if you will. But I would say to you, do not sign it in that moment. If you have a good HR person actually facilitating this conversation, they would not let you sign it in the moment. So take it home. You are absolutely entitled to have an attorney look it over, read it over. It's super boring. It's probably a boilerplate severance agreement that they are given to everybody that's impacted, so they can say it's been consistently done. But look at what they're giving you, the weeks of pay, your any PTO payout, COBRA payments, whatever it is. Make sure you understand it fully. And if you don't, call that HR person back, ask some questions so you know what you're signing. When you do sign that, you are signing away to get that money or those benefits or whatever it is in that agreement. To get that money, you're signing away your right to come sue that company later. And that's an important distinction. So that's why that company is going to want to get that signature from you, because you're waiving your right to come back to them with a lawsuit for for whatever, the circumstances is. You may also be signing away your rights for an unemployment claim. So definitely have an attorney look at that and answer those types of questions. All right, this one, next thing I'm going to say is, again, in the moment, or maybe shortly thereafter, is see if you can get the termination in writing. It'll probably be some very standard letter, if at all. I think it's 50-50 if they're going to actually give you something. So that you may need, and depends on the state or what have you, when you go to apply for unemployment, you may need that letter. Really understand when your last paycheck is coming. Especially if you're in California, they're going to require like a quick pay. Make sure you understand when that next paycheck is coming. And is it coming as a hard check, or is it, old school, or is it coming as a direct deposit, which I assume you've been on before. But make sure you have all that clarity. When, if you've got PTO, paid time off hours that are coming to you, when will that be? Will that be included in your final paycheck, or is that going to come separately? So make sure you understand when your last day is, all that type of, housekeeping stuff. And in the moment, even if you forget to ask, go back and ask that HR person. That's what they're there for. They will clearly walk you through the whole conversation again, because a lot of time you're not able to listen in that moment. So they're happy to walk you through the conversation again to make sure you fully understand what you're signing and all that type of stuff. Get your stuff and get out as quickly as possible. Don't react negatively or aggressively or with, God forbid, violence, because that is just going to make the situation much, much worse. If you've got other materials like a laptop or whatever you have, maybe for your home setup that you have to return, make sure you're returning those, because I'm not going to lie, we've sent the cops to some people's houses to get some stuff back. That could actually put a severance agreement in jeopardy as well. Okay, so 24 hours has gone by. You've marinated it. You've talked to a friend. Maybe you've popped open a bottle of wine. Again, don't get stuck there. The first thing you should do is go and apply for unemployment benefits, because it is a bit of a lengthy process. There's lots of stuff, you may need to be able to answer. And then if you do have a severance agreement, that's going to play a part in that, because you apply for the unemployment benefits and they're going to say, did you get a severance agreement when you were terminated? If the answer is yes, that may affect the timing of when you are eligible to receive any unemployment payments. Every state is different. So the first thing you need to do is get through that, make sure that process is started, so then you can get into whatever process it is and know when that unemployment payment is going to come to you. Most companies that are doing layoffs will usually not contest the unemployment claim, and therefore it'll just kind of go right through and you'll start receiving payments. If you've been fired for cause, for something you did in the workplace, let's say it's harassment, right? The company may contest, hey, this person was fired for this, and we're going to come to a hearing to contest this unemployment charge. That may happen, and that may delay, again, you getting any unemployment benefits. So keep all those things in mind. Know the process. Start it as soon as you can. The day after you get fired is my recommendation. Okay, so the other thing people stress about and sometimes panic about is they're unaware of when their health benefits end as a result of their separation from the company, especially people with multiple dependents, kids, or whatever the case may be. So the good news is, if you get laid off, say the first of the month as an example, your benefits are going to be automatically effective through the end of that month. So that gives you some time to go wrap up some doctor's appointments or what have you. Now, COBRA, and I don't remember the acronym, but what it is, it's the government's way of allowing you to continue the benefits you had at your former employer. And so that will come within about 60 days. You can go on the website. I'll actually link it here. So you can go on and see what the application process is, see what the rates you would pay. I'm not going to lie, it's expensive, but you don't want to go without benefits. The other thing you could do is, look into the Affordable Care Act and kind of what that marketplace looks like for some different healthcare options. If you do not elect COBRA, meaning say, yes, I want it, within 60 days of your separation, then it's going to go away and it won't be available to you. All right, here's a tale of what not to do. And this involves a former executive that I used to work with. What she missed doing, and this was in a retirement situation, but it's applicable to a termination or separation from the company as well, is she didn't pay attention to the deadlines on stock options or stock grants, all that type of stuff. So they've all got different kind of, especially when you leave a company, what is vested, all these type of things, right? So she left $1 million on the table because she missed some of these deadlines. And that actually, there was nothing the company could do because it was managed by an overarching plan. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, if you're just kind of letting your 401k or stock and all that kind of on cruise control, not going to lie, I did, make sure you understand that. Look it up. Call the Benefits Service Center or Fidelity or whoever manages your retirement or stock and ask these questions. Hey, I've been separated from the company. What does this mean financially for me with respect to my 401k, my stock? Start educating yourself because you don't want something to surprise you later as you navigate unemployment. So keep those things in mind. Leverage EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. I say this in a bunch of videos, but I can personally say they've helped me through a tough time. It wasn't a layoff or a termination time, but it was an equally stressful point in my life. And I found their counselors very helpful, both on the phone and in person. And so I say that, this comes as a benefit to you. Most companies have this. They offer, 5 to 10 or whatever it is, free sessions. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, please seek that help. And one other thing I'll say, I had 2 people comment on one of my videos that they flippantly referred to offing themselves as a result of this. First of all, stop. That's not cool. If people are struggling, we want to help them, not add to their stress. So if you find yourself struggling, please stop what you're doing. Call, if it's EAP, if it's the National Suicide Hotline, you're worth more than that. You need to get the help. So don't take it lightly. Don't go so inward that it just gets worse and worse. Asking for help is actually a point of strength. For people who actually say, I need some help, they're not weak. And there's no shame in that. If you find you need the help, please check out the links in the description and ask for the help, and I'm sure you will be better for it. Okay, so the next 7 days, I would say let's start reflecting, but I don't want to get stuck looking backwards, but I want you to make sure you have a document trail. So if you think that you got fired and it's because of a harassment situation or a discrimination situation, you want to make sure you're kind of collecting kind of your thoughts. So start a Word document and start talking about dates. Maybe you had a performance plan, what those conversations were. If you have any other documents that you were able to take with you, keep those, because if you are going to go talk to an attorney, as an example, they're going to say, the first question they're going to say is, what kind of documentation do you have? Especially if you go to a place like the EEOC for a discrimination complaint. So make sure you have all that stuff buttoned up. It could come into play later. And the more time that goes by that you've not documented this, the stuff you're going to forget. Okay, now it's time to manage your narrative. Now, I've seen people do some cringy stuff on LinkedIn or other social media. I got fired from this job, right? Or whatever. Nobody needs to know that. All you have to say is put the end date of your role and then put the banner that you're looking for work. Nobody has to know you got fired, especially these days, right? So many people are getting laid off. Don't get me started with the government. Nobody's going to bat an eye that, hey, your job ended. You don't have to say I got fired. You can say my job ended there, my role got eliminated, or whatever it is, and now I'm looking for other opportunities. So you control the narrative. Will this performance plan or will this termination follow me? Not really. If you're in corporate America, the only reference that a organization is going to give out is when they probably have an automated service that people use for background checks. And the only thing that's going to check is your dates of employment and your title, maybe your salary if you authorize that. So don't stress about that. Now, I will say as a caveat to that, some smaller companies, you may give somebody as a reference and then they may start telling, well, this was a bad employee and blah, blah, blah. I don't recommend it, but I can see it happening in a smaller company. And frankly, the reason we don't recommend, other, managers giving out bad references or anything like that, you get into this weird, slanderous, libel, risky situation. So as an HR person, I would tell my leaders, do not give out references, do not, say anything other than dates of employment and job title, or better yet, refer them to the automated service. You're controlling the narrative. So think about that. Be thoughtful about what you're putting on LinkedIn, on Indeed with respect to, why you left a company, or you could just put your date ended and call it a day and start moving forward. And anytime you leave an organization, the people you thought were your friends suddenly will start ghosting you. And you know what? That's more about them than it is about you. I left Starbucks as an example. And there are people that I would talk to every day that now, and I chose to leave. I quit. I resigned. It's baffling to me that they are like, once somebody that, I've had to my home for dinner, and suddenly I'd made the decision to leave and they can't wrap their brain around it. So they've ghosted me. Again, that's more about them than it is me. And if that happens to you, don't take it personally. Said, you know what, maybe that relationship needed to end. Maybe that relationship wasn't as solid or as deep as I thought it was. And I'm going to move on. And you will see those people that actually are your true friends. They will stand by you. They will keep in touch. Okay, so now let's go back to Brittany Peach, right? So again, everybody's seen this video. If you haven't, I'll link it in the description. I'm not going to bore you with the whole 9-minute video, but I have some thoughts. So first of all, she obviously knew this was coming. So she's, and it was via a Teams call, which I don't think is ideal. I think it should be done face to face. The problem I had, first of all, that made it wildly cringy for me as a former HR person was that this HR person had no idea who Brittany was.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My name's Rosie. I'm just joining the call. Nice to meet you. I'm on the HR team.
They're like, oh, nice to meet you. And it was super cringy and awkward until that manager got on the phone.
Thanks for meeting with me and Rosie. We have an important meeting today. We've finished our evaluations of 2023 performance. This is where you have not met Cloudflare expectations for performance. We've decided to part ways with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Like I said earlier, her boss shows up and she's somebody she's never met. She didn't even know, and he's delivering the message. I think that is just such bad form on a company that her direct manager, who should have been involved making the decision, and I understand not all companies roll this way and everything, but I still think it should have come from her direct manager. Now, here's one thing she was asking for reasons and she was bargaining with them and she had a laundry list of her accomplishments.
I have had the highest activity amongst my team. Since I've started, I have had 3 contracts out, done a really great job managing my deals up until the very end that decided not to close last minute.
I understand the knee-jerk reaction to go that way. What I know is not going to happen is the decision's already been made. They're not going to change their mind in the moment. So bargaining or asking all these questions, and it's just going to prolong the conversation. So I get it. If that's your reaction, it is what it is. But I'm here to tell you it's not going to change anything, especially in this situation of you being fired for performance or for cause. Those decisions have been made with those in mind. If it's a layoff, it's more broadly speaking. But again, decisions are final. You just got to kind of take a deep breath and move on through it. Here's the other thing that I found cringeworthy with Brittany. Obviously, you get an attitude, and I can forgive that, and frankly, I think it's a little warranted. However, she's putting this out there on TikTok. Now, if I'm a hiring manager, if I was looking for somebody on my team, I saw this video as part of my due diligence, looking into her background or whatever, I wouldn't hire her. So it plants seeds. I'm not saying it's right for me as a hiring manager to make that decision based off a TikTok video, but it is planting those seeds, and it would give me some concern. Fast forward, she did get another job. So, and apparently I've seen other videos where she's, back in the saddle, got a good job and is happy as a clam. So that's a great ending to that story. While it may have been entertaining from a cringeworthy perspective for her to film herself, and it got millions of views, even got, I think Forbes had written it up. I think it was 8 or 9 months that she remained unemployed. And I bet a large part of it was due to this video going viral, that people were saying, you know what, that's kryptonite for us. We're not going to touch that. Thank you for your resume, but you're going to get the other candidates more qualified email rejection letter from us. If you need to go on social media, don't do Take my advice or leave it, but don't do what Brittany did. Go on Reddit where it's more anonymous if you need to get that out, if that's your outlet to kind of make you feel better and have other people, commenting on it and getting on your side and stuff. Please keep it off LinkedIn and Indeed and all that. Anything that identifies you can be found and can be used against you or as a rationale of not to hire you. Less is more from a social media perspective and how to communicate that you were terminated. The next thing not to do is don't panic, like I said earlier, and then apply for 200 jobs. First of all, it will be exhausting because we've all encountered applicant tracking systems, and you upload your resume and then the applicant tracking system makes you put all that information in. Again, be thoughtful about it, put a plan together. How am I going to structure my day? Okay, now that I've laid off, I don't have a job. How am I going to take care of my mental health, my physical health? And then how am I going to chip away at these jobs, right? So I'm going to apply for 10 jobs a day. Okay, I'm going to time block that and I'm going to do it in the morning. Then I'm going to go on with my day and do other things, whether it's networking or skill building or whatever it is. But if all you do is stare at that screen and keep hitting refresh, looking for another job, it's not healthy to kind of fixate on it, even though you may be in a desperate situation. There are again, I mentioned EAP before. There are some financial counseling, and other resources that could be available to you if you just ask and reach out for help that could help bridge the gap between the two jobs. So, the other thing I would say here is don't assume this was all your fault, right? It can be a kick to your confidence, especially in, if it's a termination for performance. Amazon laying off a bunch of people here in Seattle as a direct function of their jobs being replaced by artificial intelligence. Use this as a thing to propel you forward. Maybe it's like, okay, AI is replacing me. What now do I need? What skill do I need to build? We don't have the answer to that question, but you may, if you start putting yourself in that mindset, you need to start thinking differently about your job search and not just going back to the same job at another organization. You're casting a wider net with respect to openings and things you can apply for. So get in that mindset. And I will link another video I did a few weeks ago, the mindsets of high achievers, highly successful people. And maybe that will help you think about, stop looking backwards with a fixed mindset about this happened to me and woe is me, and start approaching, okay, if I change the way I'm thinking and have a growth mindset, that then I can think about the art of the possible. What else is possible for me in my career? Maybe it's a career pivot. Maybe it's going on YouTube. But, I think if you can start opening your mind to other possibilities, that again will expand what may come your way. Now, the other thing I would say is do some reflection here. Maybe it's not as bad as you seem. Maybe that wasn't the be-all, end-all job. Maybe that wasn't the be-all, end-all company. Think about, was this a toxic culture that I just didn't realize I was existing in? That's a good question to ask and put some thought into. Maybe I was a mismatch for the company, right? In the case of Brittany, she'd only been there for 3 months and then was managed out of the organization. So maybe there was a mismatch there. And it's not that it's anything wrong with her in that example. It just could be that she wasn't a good fit for that company. Maybe you're burned out. I have been there where it's not the company, you're just burnt out and you just don't care about doing a good job. So if it is burnout, think about how you can, and maybe I'll do another video on how to get yourself out of burnout, but think about how you can get yourself out of it so that you are in the right frame of mind when you do sit down in front of another hiring manager, an HR person for another role in another organization, and the burnout doesn't come through, right? You're showing up as your best self and you're putting forth the energy that they want to hire you. What would you do differently if you had to do this all over again at this company? Don't let it shame you more. Don't shame yourself, but think of it as an opportunity for growth. And those are good interview questions, right? Or interview answers, I should say. So somebody says, hey, tell me a time you made a bad decision. and if you can spin that into, hey, I made this decision at this company and here's what happened and here's how I grew from it, that's an awesome, awesome interview answer. And people love a comeback story. This exercise about doing the reflection isn't about, reinforcing the shame you feel or the fear or whatever it is about getting yourself in the right mindset. Frame it, even a layoff or a termination, as a lesson. How did you grow from it? Again, people love that comeback story. I said this in one of my videos about what not to say to somebody who's been laid off or terminated, and that is just reach out to your network. And I agree with that advice, but I'm going to tell you that you need to do some networking, but it needs to be strategic networking, and it isn't the holy grail of the job search process. I think it's one piece of the pie, but reach out to your trusted, confidants, your mentors, your allies. Again, if you're trying to get yourself in a better mindset and a more growth mindset, this may be some time when you have downtime now to invest in yourself. Maybe it's getting a certification. Maybe it is, kind of doing a side hustle or what have you. Anyway, anything to keep your mind in that space of learning, developing, growing will put you in a better mindset, so that when you are in front of a hiring manager, an interview team or whatever, you're showing up as your best self and you're saying, yeah, I was laid off, but I've been doing this and this and this all along to keep my skills current or develop new skills. And that's going to be like catnip for them. They're going to be like, oh, tell us more. And people like to hear about lifelong learners. That's just going to be a good narrative to share with that hiring team. And who knows, you might find something that you wanted to do that, getting laid off or fired was just a kick in the ass to go and do something that you've always wanted to do. Whether, like me, I opened my own studio, and granted, I didn't get fired, but I opened my own studio, I started my own YouTube channel, and I am really loving doing something different that's sort of tied to my own world. So that can be you too. You just need to think outside the box a little bit. Okay, so let's I'm going to throw this on the screen. Let's just kind of recap what we've talked about today. So, first thing, you need to react, right? You don't have a choice if you're getting fired or laid off. But think about the documents you've been handed, your finances, your benefits, making sure you have a good handle on all that stuff. Then go into the reflection stage, right? Understand what happened and why, and again, how you can grow from that. Don't dwell on the why it happened, but how you can grow from that. And then rebrand yourself. Update your resume, your LinkedIn, your network, make sure your reputation is intact. And then re-engage. How are you going to start searching for that new job from a strategy standpoint, a clarity standpoint, and a confidence standpoint? So at the end of the day, getting fired sucks, or getting laid off absolutely sucks, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. I have seen people do this well and with grace, and I've seen people handle this horribly. One last little anecdote, a friend of mine, again, got fired from a company that that company was, defined who he was as a person, and he kept going back to the well, trying to get back in, trying to bargain. It was an exercise in futility. And so if you can get past that and redirect, hey, I can feel that same way about another organization, about another job, about another career. That's the good thing. So really put some reflection into what is possible, not going back to what you had. So I did two videos I want to talk about. I did one that was 7 signs you're about to get fired. So please check that out. If you're not fired or laid off at this point, but you may suspect something is not right, maybe that video can be helpful for you to kind of see the warning signs and maybe how to counteract it. And then the next one is, you may feel like it's on the same topic, but you may feel like, hey, is my organization pushing me out? And that could lead to some illegal consequences. And I'm about to do another video about that really soon, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, again, my name's Rob, and I hope you found this information useful. And if you did, I would be absolutely honored if you would like and subscribe to my channel. It is a bit of a passion project for me, and any of your engagement does help. And let me know in the comments how you're doing. I love hearing from my viewers and see how they're doing. And if I can help offer some advice, I'm happy to do that. So until next time, I wish you well. If you've gotten terminated or laid off, please, you're worth more than the job that you were let go from. Don't forget that. So until next time, take care. This video was recorded and produced by Just Talk Studios, the premier video podcasting studio in Bellevue, Washington. Visit justtalkstudios.com to learn more and book your session today.